Slowly, he crept out of the storage room, taking care to catch the edge of the door as it closed. Garrett looked around anxiously for Barso, but the boxman was nowhere within the small dwelling. The braying continued, causing the nimble thief to whirl around and face the door. Slipping into the shadows of the left side of the hovel, Garrett edged his way over towards the entryway. There, he quietly waited. If this unknown stranger was a member of the watch, they would either announce themselves as so, or attempt to break down the door. Minutes slipped by painfully slow, as the knocking continued. Each thump against the wood drove another needle of anxiety through Garrett's chest, and sweat began to gather in tiny beads upon his brow. After about 5 minutes of this, the thief was convinced that whoever this person was, it wasn't the city watch. Ducking off into the corner, he crouched and crawled to the open window. He reached into his knapsack and withdrew a small, spherical device from within. With a twist and a pop, Garrett attached the transmitter on the device to the small indented receiver of his right eye, and discreetly placed the new object upon the window ledge. Instantly, the scouting orb began to transmit a signal. Through the grainy white imagery, he could make out a hooded figure. Who this person was, he had no guess. But one thing was certain. They had no business here. Barso wasn't even home at the moment. The lights within the hovel dimmed. Garrett disconnected the orb upon noticing that this intruder held something large just beneath the edges of their cloak. Garrett retrieved the scouting orb, and after replacing it back into his pack, he resumed his position just behind the front door. As the knocking resumed, for what seemed like the 100th time, Garrett prepared himself. He could give them one chance to make their business with Barso known. One chance. His long fingers twitched in anticipation as he went for and produced his dagger. Gritting his teeth and gulping down a mixture of dread and befuddlement, he secured the doorknob beneath his hand. The lock clicked, and with an eerie creak, the door swung open, exposing the darkness of the deplorable dwelling. The unknown visitor reluctantly started inside. A female's shriek filled the room, as unseen hands forcefully pressed her into the door, slamming it shut again. She gasped and quivered as the tip of a sharp silver dagger found her throat. Her blue eyes tremored in terror, and she dropped what she was carrying to the cold dirt floor.
"What business do you have beating on that door?"
Garrett's smoky voice snarled through the empty blackness. The woman's body relaxed at the sound of his voice.
"Garrett, what in bloody Berks are you doing here?"
The thief instinctively recoiled and sheathed his blade at the sound of Sophie's gentle yet strong voice.
"Sophie?"
"Yes, Garrett,"
she snapped, taking the hood from her rich brunette hair. She shot him an infuriated glare. The boxman's sister stared at him for a moment, before reaching down to retrieve whatever she had dropped during the thief's ambush. Garrett had seldom felt so foolish. It was a carefully folded pile of laundry.
"Sophie, I apologize. I thought you were..."
"Someone else. Yeah, I kinda got that when you almost pierced my neck with that damned knife."
She huffed, glaring discerningly over the clothing and sheets now lining the ground.
"Taff it all, Garrett. Do you know how long it took me to get those stains out?"
What
are you so worked up about anyway? Obviously you don't give a rat's arse about the new allegations against you, or you'd have left the city by now."
I'm trying to.
"By involving my brother? What do you expect Basso to do for you in that regard?" The lout can't even do his own laundry.
Sophie continued her tirade.
And now, thanks to your dramatic little intervention, I'm gonna have to do it all over again.
Garrett opened his mouth again to apologize further, but a soft green light caught the corner of his eye, cutting him off. Guinevere stood in the doorway of the storage room, her hand aglow with nature magic. At first, the thief was worried that he would have to explain, and rather quickly, that Sophie was not a threat. He knew how quick to kill his apprentice was, especially when she perceived him to be in any peril. No doubt she had heard the arguing, and come out of her hiding place prematurely. But Guinevere's words couldn't have surprised him more.
Maybe I can help,
She offered, in a shy, yet sincere tone. Sophie looked in the direction of the nymph, her irises contracting in unspoken awe, at the sight of the raw, green manna flowing over her tiny hands like leafy vines.
That's her, isn't it?
She spoke to Garrett, eyes still transfixed upon Guinevere.
That's Guinevere.
Yes, that's her.
Garrett approached her side, trying to get a gauge for how Sophie was reacting to all of this. She didn't seem to be afraid. She looked more surprised than anything. Guinevere waited for the woman before her to speak, and when she did not, the young woman repeated her offer.
I could help you rewash Basso's laundry, if you want, miss.
This time, Sophie managed a small, very weak smile.
That's not necessary, sweetie. I'm sure my brother wouldn't mind a little loose dirt and dust anyway.
She took a nervous step towards the petite ruby-haired maiden. With utmost sincerity and warmth, she extended her hand to her.
My name is Sophie. It's very nice to finally meet you, Guinevere.
Guinevere reached up with the hand that wasn't currently weaving a magical light, and clasped Sophie's palm.
Nice to meet you too.
She withdrew, and offered a curtsy. Sophie chuckled merrily at this. Looking back over her shoulder, she winked and whispered to Garrett.
She's precious.
The thief couldn't have agreed more. Suddenly, the front door burst open again, startling everyone inside. It was Basso, looking positively enraged. He stormed past Garrett and Sophie, barely noticing either of them. Slamming his fists against his desk and scuttling some papers to the floor below, he reached up and lit the lantern just above. Gloria cawed with protest, unhappy about being woken from her rainy afternoon's nap.
Filthy Taffer. I should have known he'd cheat.
The boxman cursed. He plopped down in his feeble wooden chair with a groan, and opened the lower right drawer to reveal a half-drunk bottle of brandy.
It's great to see you too, brother.
Sophie cleared her throat. Basso looked up, seemingly still lost in thought.
Huh? Oh, hi, Sophie. Is it laundry day already?
He asked, barely acknowledging her as he shakily poured himself a glass. Sophie frowned.
You know that brandy is going to be the death of you.
She reprimanded.
Well, what'd ya expect? It has a woman's name after all.
He chuckled sourly.
Couldn't you at least have told Garrett that I was coming over this afternoon?
Nope, I wasn't here.
The younger sibling threw the last of the laundry back into the wicker basket, and crossed her arms.
You are unbelievable.